Hello, hello, hello. All right. Let's just double check. Test. Check, check, check. Okay, we're good. All right, let's just load this up. Let's go camera off a little bit. Let's just share screen. Oh. All right, let's put it on the chart. So wild. I have this thing where I tend to like always do very similar charts. I was just telling someone about this actually, and I swear the chart I just did was a Sag rising with Uranus rising, just like you, um, which I think was the first person like that I've ever done, and here you are, back to back. And then, um, yeah, I just thought that was interesting because I was just telling someone before how each reading I do, like not even each reading, like there tends to be like a continuity or like something that like so many people have in a row, and it's just interesting. So anyways, so this is going to obviously, as a 26-degree rising, it's going to look a lot different than if you were like a 0 or 1-degree rising. I use whole sign houses, so in Placidus it would start here, like this line would be at 26 Sag. So a lot looks different, but to me it's a more accurate system. Both systems are good, but and like I'll still base things, some stuff off Placidus. Like I'll kind of give both a little bit of details on how it could work in each system. So yeah. Anyways, so obviously I noticed, you were born right on a full moon in Cancer, and tu es français. Je pourrais faire ça en français, mais I forget if you. I think you're French, but I don't know. I tend to I prefer English for astrology. I could do French, but I kind of just get into a flow, and English is just easy to speak. I mean, I know the astrology lingo in English. So yeah. Um, all right. So North Node in Aries, just like my last person, like in the same part of the chart, obviously because you guys are both the same rising. You have the Mars in Aries too, which means you have the South Node in Libra. So I think it's similar. So basically, karmically, when you're born on a full moon, it's a big time lifetime um, when it comes to just like a normal full moon. It's there's a lot of intensity, and there's a need to regulate and to balance the different energies out. Um, so with Cancer, Moon, Capricorn, Sun, um, this is the axis of um, masculinity and femininity, of inner and outer. And oftentimes people who are born on a full moon, they have divorced parents. Not like all the time, but a lot of times the parents just have like a very, very like, they're very different one from the other. So in the personality, psychologically, how it tends to result is, you have these two different sides to you that need to be fed, right? These two very, very distinct sides. Um, and it's not so easy to do that, right? So as a Capricorn, that is all about um, Um, TV just started making noise. So Capricorn, obviously, it's just a sign, right there in the second house. It's all about masculinity. Um, it's all about follow through, and just very, very success based, right? Um, but not necessarily obsessed with that. I think like high energy Capricorn is very much interested in success and very much interested in building foundations in their lives, structures, foundations. Um, and Cancer, on the other hand, is obviously way different and tends to care. It's very emotional. So the Cancer moon, while the Capricorn sun, the moon is your emotions. Excuse me. The moon is your emotions, and one thing as having your Black moon Lilith in Cancer too, you're really here to evolve on that level. A Cancer moon would be very sensitive. They'll feel things deeply and have typically a very deep attachment to the mother, to their past, to their childhood, and even potentially to their ancestry and just like greater family. With your North Node on the IC, there could be something of that sort. Um, so one thing about Cancer Moon is that you have to be careful, as it can be very it can be easy for a Cancer Moon to, like, especially with Black and Lilith there, to fall into self-victimization, escapism, where they're not dealing with reality head on, in the sense that the whole metaphor is that the Cancer, the crab crawls back into its shell. Um, so once Cancer, it can be very difficult for Cancer moons, Cancer suns, to trust again once they've been hurt, uh, namely in love, right? So once that happens, it's just very, very tough. Um, that's kind of the ultimate test, because when you have a seventh house Chiron, a lot of the wounding will be in relationship. That will be like where a lot, yeah, where the wounds are. So it's important to, is it, the moon's in the eighth house. It's important to just transform, to not just I make it sound way easier than it is, but to allow these parts of yourself to die, so that you can allow give yourself space for the rebirth, right? um so that's really important. Eighth house is the house of Scorpio, and that's where you allow on an emotional level with your moon, where you allow parts of yourself that are no longer needed to just die, right? And it all comes back to this full moon, where you're essentially trying to find that balance between inner and outer success, like external success, what you build in the outer world, and then internal growth, internal success, which is more based on what you do internally, right? How you grow emotionally, how you mature emotionally, how you become more courageous, and also I think like with like a square or an opposition of the sun and moon, there's a certain level to that where you're not meant to be like either parent, or it's not like there's like a trajectory for you that you're meant to follow. You're meant to kind of just do your own thing. One quick second. One second. Okay. So, let's reshare. Anyways, so yeah, basically having Uranus on the ascendant is very rare, as I said. Having the ascendant is right on the galactic center, which is very interesting. You have Venus there also, Saturn in Sag, I mean. So with your South Node of Libra, North Node Aries, it's very evident that in past lives you've been very kind of humanitarian slash relationship based, to the extent that it's been, like it's just so interesting that I have two like charts that are so similar back to back. But um, you have a certain level of good karma. With the 11th house Libra South Node, which in this lifetime with the North Node in Aries, right? That's like where you're supposed to go towards. The movement from Libra to Aries is like the movement from potential codependence, um, relying too much on relationships to give you meaning, or even like falling in the trap of having your creativity cut off by the limitations of certain relationships. So it's not that you're not supposed to be in a in any relationships in this incarnation. It's that you are supposed to, like, I mean, you can do whatever you want, but um the highest energy when it's Aries is like it's okay for you to be a little bit selfish. It's okay for you to be a little bit to do what you want to do. And you have Mars to back that up, right? Mars is the ruler of your North Node because Mars rules Aries, and it's in the same house, same sign. So that's a really, really positive thing because Mars in astrology rules, it's the planet that rules our action. So the sign of Aries, just think of like a bright, bright red, right? You can see it here. Although it looks like these three are like the same color. I wish I could change the colors, the ones that I feel they look like. There's probably a way to do that. I'm not gonna do it now. But anyways, so yeah, like Aries is the first sign. It's a fire sign. It can be a little bit childish. Um, it's very, very assertive. It's very good at. It's an energy that it's very independent. Um, Libra, one of like Libra is very diplomatic, so you'll naturally be very diplomatic and very good at very considerate. But sometimes with Libra energy, it can be too much so to where there can be a lot of frustration that can come, right? There can be a lot of frustration that can come, and it originates from the peacefulness that the Venusian peacefulness of Libra that doesn't want to rock the ship, right? Doesn't want to upset people. So Aries, it's all about action, independence, and fire. And it's in the fifth house, so that is the house of creativity and authentic creativity, right? So it's like really like asking you to just go out and explore and find things you're passionate about and just have some fun, figure out like what it is that because, you know, like I said, there's like a karmic tendency to I guess to be doing things in a way that is very, you know, very, you know, very considerate, but it's really like the energy is aligned in this lifetime for you to do you at the end of the day, right? And for you to, you know, with that, with the Uranus on your ascendant in Sag, you know, Sag rising, everything is about um life is one big adventure, right? And you know, that makes Jupiter and Pisces, which once again, I think you in the last client chart I did had were born. You guys must have been born in this, I mean, same year for sure, but she was born in August. You were born in December or January. I mean, she was, no, that means she was born the August after you. Yeah, I think after you. So interesting. So, you know, having that Jupiter is where the that ascendant, the ruler of all your Sag energy, right? Which at the end of the day, Sag is about truth, right? So as a Sag rising, you are oriented, like your orientation is to, or like the goal for you is to look for and to seek truth, right? And I say this often, um, you know, as a Capricorn, which rules the 10th house, that represents Dharma, right? That represents like what one is meant to do in life, like with their work. So if you think about two different people, um, one of them is, you know, they both have like it's basically like, you know, people's experience and their like basically dictates their belief systems. People's experience times like people's experience with their openness, their open-mindedness, right? That has a huge impact on what they deem to be as their higher truth. Like if you ask every human what their highest truth is, and then you ask them, okay, and how does your life, like your, not just like your career, right? That's not like everything. Um, you know, just like your overall what you do, you know? Um, okay. Am I back? Am I back? Okay, somehow I dropped my Wi-Fi. I need to, I just lost the Zoom just disappeared. I got it back. Okay, switch Wi-Fi's. Esme. Can't pay you this much. Okay, is it switched? Okay, good. All right. Um, okay, we can just go like this for it. So yeah, basically what I was saying is that two people with different belief systems are gonna, you know, one person that's completely all aboard everything that the mainstream media and they're taught in school, all that, you know, if they believe all of that is true and then they build their lives based off of that, it's gonna be a lot different than someone who questions everything and who, you know, and that's what Sagittarius is all about. It's about questioning everything and trying on tons of different philosophies, right? um, Different cultures, right? That's huge for Sagittarius. A lot of Sagittarius rising people, Venus Sagittarius. There's Venus Sagittarius is just guarantees. I've never met someone with Venus Sag that doesn't love traveling, right? And doesn't have like an interest in different cultures. Usually they'll date someone from a different culture. And you know, I also like that Juno is pretty close to your sun because that definitely will bring like a more, like sometimes Capricorn can be a little bit cold, but Juno definitely brings some more warmth. I guess it's, I would say like nurturing energy to Capricorn, which is, you know, it can be very much very businessy and whatnot. So yeah. So, okay. So the fact that everything, all the Sag energy, right? So, with this much Sag, you would spend a lot of time, a lot of effort. Well, I'm gonna just share it again. So yeah, with all this Sag energy over here, there'd be like a lot of effort, a lot of energy in the realm of um finding meaning, finding higher truth, finding higher meaning. So um the Uranus on the ascendant is super interesting because it just brings a lot of surprises. It makes a very open-minded person, very, very almost like ingenious in a sense. Um, not afraid to do kind of the unexpected. And it makes a lot, it adds like a lifetime full of surprises, right? And then on top of that, having your Sag rising at 26 Sag, which is exactly the galactic center. And that is a black hole. And in astrology, it's, very much related to cosmic knowledge. So you'll be someone who can be a channel for cosmic knowledge, which is pretty neat. Um, isn't it? Isn't it? What? So that's what I was gonna say. So yeah, the fact that Jupiter rules Sag, it's just every time I touch the computer, she puts her head underneath it. The fact that Jupiter rules Sag and Jupiter's in Pisces is very interesting. So first of all, having Jupiter in that position in the fourth, um, it makes one able to be, to just like be very optimistic internally. Um, there can be very dark times, and you're able to find like the spiritual significance. Um, and also Jupiter and Pisces, it makes someone like a teacher of the spiritual and of the mystical. Um, and it makes someone ultra compassionate. So they can be like a very, very great healer. They can be a very, very good teacher. And a lot of that Sagittarian energy would go in to, or would be best served, like when it comes to anything that has to do with spirituality and um, kind of that seeking truth, um, seeking truth based on laws of the universe, right? Um, spiritual laws. There'd be a natural affinity to those and to that realm of understanding. Now, yeah, so the one thing that can really like with an eighth house moon in Cancer, one can definitely be held back um by their emotions and how deeply they feel things. And it can be very easy for like Capricorn, Cancer male in today's world to put a lot more in the Capricorn camp. Um, because it's a lot easier energy, it's a lot more masculine. Um, and so when I talk about having a need to kind of feed both the moon and the sun, I'm speaking to, with the Cancer moon, a need to feel the emotions um, as they come up. Emotions are energy, um, energy and motion, emotions. So, one reason why the Cancer moon is the dignity placement, or Cancer is the dignity placement for the moon, and that's because usually Cancer moons are very good at meeting their emotional needs naturally. But when there's a full moon in the chart, it could speak about, like I said, not necessarily a divorce, but some level of difficulty in respect to just the parents usually, right? But I kind of, I don't know, I'm trying to stay away from those comments about the parents, because I've seen like trines, which is usually like a very good between the sun and the moon, be about, be like, and I talk to the people and they're like, yeah, my parents are divorced. It's happened a few times now, so it's kind of tricky, but oftentimes that's what it is with the sun opposite moon. um Also, it brings that axis of male female up, and a common aspect of that can be having been a female in a or having like had like a recent gender change. And there can sometimes be um not really issues, but sometimes people with that polarity, or with that Cancer Capricorn axis in their birth chart highlighted, they can have, I don't know, they just like need to express like both genders, not externally and nothing like that. Just they they're yeah, like if there is a recent gender switch, and then you have one part of you that's very feminine, another part of you that's very masculine, Capricorn Cancer, it's just not, it's not so easy necessarily, right? um so yeah, Cancer asks you to like stay with your emotions. um you know whenever they come up, whatever it is, to just sit with it, to not run away, because that's what that Black Moon Lilith is. And also that Black Moon Lilith could speak to, I've seen a lot of the time, it can speak to, like, Black Moon Lilith is not a planet, it is a potential. So think of Black Moon Lilith like, it's like your lowest potential energy, you at your lowest vibe, but it can be transformed. So when it's in Cancer, you think of like, okay, what's like a lower manifestation of Cancer? Well, um, one of them is emotional manipulation, right? That's like another one on top of what I've already said about the, you know, um, running away from vulnerability, right? So using like emotional, means to get what you want. Um, so it's just like an effort not to do that. And I feel like having that Mars in Aries is so powerful. When you have Mars in Aries, Mars in Scorpio, Mars in Aries, like that becomes like such a huge planet for you, right? Because that's the ruler. It's rule, like Mars is in its dignity in Aries and Scorpio. So Mars in Aries is like, I don't want to call it, it's just badass energy, And the fact that it's conjunct, it's essentially conjunct the North Node. It's 11, yeah, it's 11 degrees away, same sign. That means that Mars in Aries usually needs like a and it's square Neptune. So that's that's an interesting one. I have an interesting experience with that. I mean, I don't have the aspect, but like traditionally, if you read about that aspect, it will talk a lot about well, there's always a piece about substances and just like needing to hide from that because they can be, addiction is highly possible. But for some reason, whenever I've had clients that have that aspect, it's always, I swear, it's always like they had someone in their family that had like an addiction issue, and they, so far, right? Like they always knew they had this potential, so they just kind of stayed away from it. But yeah. Um, so Mars square Neptune, Mars and Aries square Neptune, it can kind of like, so that kind of to me makes it so important. Like the spiritual route that one takes, right? The spiritual route that one takes is so important. Um, because if you're doing things out of compassion, that are strengthening your spirituality, then and getting you deeper into that spiritual truth shown here, um, less confusion is there, right? Because there can be with Mars square Neptune, it can kind of give a 12th house Mars type vibe where, okay, here it is. So it's like it can kind of make someone feel like they're kind of walking in cycles. So this all relates to your 8th house moon, right? The 8th house moon is here. It wants to transform. It wants the individual to let go of ingrained patterns, right? Emotional patterns, to feel emotion so that they can like whatever it is, so they can let things go, right? So they can make space for the new by letting go of the old that's no longer serving. That's like a big thing I would say with that. So when you add the Mars squaring Neptune to the Mars conjunct North Node, I think that if you're not evolving, if you're not moving towards those death, rebirth transformations, it could be very easy to fall into self deception and kind of like losing one's feeling of groundedness. So, yeah, to make the best of that, you align yourself with spiritual values and spiritual, just being able to ground oneself, like spiritual doesn't necessarily mean like studying this or studying that or meditating every day or doing yoga or anything like that. It's just, it's just having a life where, you're looking at things deeper, an examined life. So, and then that translates even further by your Pluto placement in the 12th house. Because Pluto in the 12th can be very much based on a big need in this lifetime to jump off of the Saturnian rock. It's like in astrology, archetypically, Saturn represents the rock, right? And Neptune represents the sea. So Pluto in the 12th house, the metaphor is the need to jump off the cliff of materiality, because Saturn rules the material world, right? And to let go of attachments. It's like the ultimate like enlightenment, like jump towards enlightenment. Into the never-ending sea of Neptune, right? So it's very, very deep spiritual yearning. Um, and then North Node in Aries is just very much, like adding to that a layer of, but it needs to involve fun and your authentic self-expression. So about self-expression, um, about self-expression. So basically, in society, it's very easy to kind of get stuck into a certain way of creating, into a certain way of a lot of things, right? Of thinking, of creating. But when I talk about authentic self-expression, which is like the highest energy of Leo, we're all different. We're all unique, right? And we all have unique gifts. We all have unique things that make us, that we're passionate about, unique things that we're meant to do. So for the person with this placement, they are meant to, with the fifth house north node, they're meant to find different avenues of creativity that are, solely based on them, solely based on them and their unique makeup. So that's very très 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 important. C'est très important. Et je peux continuer. I forget if you know. See, this is like I literally like make sure that by the time a reading comes around, obviously, I don't choose how long my wait list is, but by the time a reading comes around, naturally, I don't remember anything about the person, and I remember talking to you, but I kind of don't though, and I kind of like whenever my mind tries to go there, I'll just like push it away. They're literally like, and I had like a client reflect this back to me today, like one of the best. I love like I think the biggest values of my readings is that I'm not looking. I don't know what you look like at all. I haven't looked at one photo. I haven't looked at anything. I don't know. Um, and there's I think two French guys. So there's someone that like like if I actually try to think, like I might confuse you. I might be confusing you with this other French dude. Um, so yeah, I know nothing, but I think it just makes the readings that much better. Um, because I'm a complete stranger that doesn't know anything about you. All I'm doing is looking at um your natal chart and seeing what I see. So backing up a bit, really, really important so far is that piece about moving away from any kind of, so I want to add to like the Libra South Node stuff and say that it's a movement away from any type of people pleasing, anything that keeps you that prevents you um from really being assertive and being kind of powerful on your own, I guess you could say, right? Like there can sometimes be a tendency to, yeah, for the Libra South nodes to to care too much to care too much about relationships and care too much about making people happy. And 11th house South node can be someone who's very, very giving, right? So like they've spent lots of past lives where they've given, given, given. And now suddenly they're meant to be a little bit selfish. It's okay to be a little bit selfish. Because ultimately that selfishness is deserved karmically, right? It's karmically deserved. Like the energy, like this lifetime, it's begging you to the message is like, just have fun and don't feel guilty. I mean, obviously there's extremes to everything, but it's like, don't feel guilty when you're doing what you're supposed to do. You're doing what you're meant to do, which is to just enjoy things, and to have an exciting life, have I forget if you're the one that was living in like New Zealand. See, I don't remember any of this stuff, but I think, was that you? But like, if that is you, that is like perfect. Like that's exactly it, Um, the Uranus on the ascendant, like you just gotta go. You just gotta go. And even if it's not at all what other people are doing, that's what's good, it has to make you feel alive, right? That's a Sagittarius. It's like it's so much about freedom, and that's what's really interesting about your chart too. So that movement towards Aries, right? It's like you don't want to go too far on the Aries Libra um scale. Libra, like extreme Libra would be like the extreme codependency, like I'm no one without my relationship. Um I'm, willing to sacrifice myself to keep, whatever relationship alive. I judge my happiness based on if I'm in a relationship or not. That's the extreme of Libra, right? Codependency. Um, so the extreme of Aries is I'm not willing to do shit. I'm not willing to do anything. Unless, I'm not willing to like compromise in any way, shape, or form. Like, you know, what I'm doing is what I'm doing. Like, that's a full, like the extreme kind of toxic Aries. Each sign has a toxic side, right? So yeah, what makes it so interesting is that like there's that part of the chart, but then there's that full moon, and a full moon, as I was saying earlier, it's all about balance. It's all about resolution. So I think a full moon to me, and this is just intuitive. A lot of the stuff I do is like self-taught and very intuitive. Um, but to me, a full moon has a Saturnian energy to it, meaning that I think a lot of people born on full moons, because of just like, if you actually feel into the energy of a full moon, right? The day before, 2 days before, like if it's like a really gnarly full moon, you feel the energy build up. People are more stressed, you know, animals are more agitated. It's just more is illuminated, right? So just like in the sky of a full moon, it's brighter during the night, meaning the night is representing your unconscious. So the full moon in your chart represents how in this lifetime, in your own psyche, it will be more illuminated, right? So it'll be more illuminated, and with that Cancer moon in the eighth, um, you're able to see a lot that a lot of other people don't see. And you're able to sense things. But it's so easy, especially for males in today's world, not to generalize, but how it is a lot of the times. It's difficult to grow up, and a Cancer moon, it's very sensitive, very emotional. So there can be a tendency to a potential, not a tendency, a potential to run away from the really heavy stuff. So that's why I think like with the full moon, the Saturn, like around the Saturn return, I would think that people with full moons, like from my experience and just like intuitively, around then, around 30, late, like when they grow up, basically, later 20s, mid 20s, sometimes depends on the person, their experience. I think also like a Uranus on the ascendant person, like they want to move, they want to get out. They want to, like, especially in Sag, like they like I just can't imagine. I can't remember if you're the one who's in New Zealand or not, but I just can't imagine. That's the thing. See, this is what's funny, right? Cancer moons, sometimes they stay so close to home for so long, right? But then it's the opposite with the Uranus rising in Sag. They want to adventure, they want to get out. But yeah, I'm curious. I forget if you have the follow up in the current astrology, or if you just got the reading. I didn't really look. I just kind of dove straight in like a dolphin. But you can always add that reading if you don't already. Highly, highly suggest it. It's like 3 hour, usually around 3 hours. I mean, sometimes a little bit shorter, depends, sometimes longer. But it's like the first hour is the follow-up. We go over everything from this reading, and then after that, it's all of your current astrology. It's called current astrology / spiritual alignment. And we just look at the year plus ahead and get you ready for everything energetically, the energetic weather. Okay, back to your reading. So yeah, that's kind of an interesting one because it could really go either way. Now, another interesting part is the North Node on the IC, because that would make someone who, like, there's something maybe about the ancestor, something about the bloodline. You know, the more I think about it, the more I can like sort of equate also, well, I'll say this after, but like, yeah, the more I can sort of equate that type of placement with the work that you do, like psychologically, energetically, having a massive effect on your bloodline, or like stopping in the sense that like it could very well be the case that you're really meant to, because family karma is very interesting, and I'm not going to act like I know all the answers. You know, that's something I actually would love to hear some different perspectives about. I've heard some though, and they've been pretty interesting. And I think that like reincarnation is just interesting in general. Like I think it can be so many different things for so many different people, but I definitely do believe that karmically we, some families have a certain karma and they have certain souls in that family that will tend to reincarnate together in order to reach some goal or to end some karmic cycle, right? So sometimes you'll have a certain member come in, a certain soul enter, right? Oh my God, these are like ideas I'm having right now. But whatever. I've been told that I just get downloads. I don't even know what the fuck they are, but whatever. But yeah, like a certain soul can come in, and maybe that soul, this is the part I never really thought about, but maybe that soul doesn't have much in common with that family. Maybe just a little bit. Maybe they've had like a few incarnations, right? Or not even. Maybe they've just like known each other, come across them, and they've decided they want to help. And that soul comes in, and maybe it's just like the son, maybe it's just a daughter, maybe it's just like a who knows, But they are like an advanced soul, and they take on a very heavy karma as a form of sacrifice because that family has been unable to get past something. And they then take that on, they assume that role, and they basically kind of, yeah, through that, decide to take on like a massive like role in breaking a karmic kind of cycle in the family, which can be anything. It could be an emotional cycle. It could be something related to not showing, I mean, you're French, I'm French. Like my French side definitely is not very like most of my family is French, nearly everyone. And yeah, like it's not really that soft. And I'm like that too. Like I'm not gonna lie, like I'm very like masculine. Like I'm not, like I don't really say I love you that much. I show it with my actions, but that's just not how it is in my family. Is that toxic? I don't know, maybe. But I mean, we say it. We say it. It's not like I love you so much. It's very like, we're fucking French. Like, what do you expect? Um, Breton. But yeah, so that's just like a small example. But on a more, like big examples that I will hear a lot from clients is, and I tend to attract clients who are like that. So it's not like like it's something that I look out for a lot, or not even look out for it. It just appears. I don't go into a reading thinking I'm going to say that this person's here to break down a lot of their karmic cycle in their family. And ultimately, I like after I finish this reading, I'll forget everything in 5 minutes or 10 minutes. Okay, maybe not, maybe 20 minutes. But it's not like it stays in my brain. Like it just gets recorded and you take it in, and I hope that you value it. So I do attract those types of people for whatever reason. And a lot of times it's like narcissism, even if it's like a covert form of narcissism. It could be something with substances, just something very toxic. And that's the thing with Pluto, right? That's like I like in my research of Pluto, or just like like what I found about Pluto is that I think your chart definitely has elements like where it can be very mystical, but also be very, like with that Mars square Neptune energy of like in like Black Lilith and Cancer of like escapism, right? Not wanting to confront things. But yeah, with your Pluto, as I was saying, like Pluto can represent kind of like our cocoon, right? Like where we feel comfortable. So pop myself back in here. So in your case, yeah, in the 12th house, it's like, one can feel very comfortable. Saturn there too, very comfortable alone. You have to watch out for falling in love with being alone with the 12th house Saturn in classes. Like I'll always do 12th house when it's like, if it's 10 degrees behind the ascendant, but still in the first house, like I can't see that. Like to me that, I mean, I'll talk about both, but it feels more 12th house to me. But yeah, I think like the 12th house Saturn can definitely be afraid to like there can be like different phobias and different like fear of like the dark, like from like a metaphoric and physical. Like some people with that, like they're like afraid of like spirits, or they're actually afraid of the dark. They have like little phobias that hold them back. Sometimes they're very hard on themselves. Sometimes they isolate a lot. And it's like, I always tell them, especially being like a Capricorn Cancer, you have to lean into that Sag side. That Sag side of you is that side of you that's very bright. That's not bright, very, very, I mean, I'm saying like that, like it's bright was the wrong, bright, like sunny, like very just like jovial, very fun. Um, and I wasn't saying that you're not bright. I was just saying that like this, like bright, I meant bright as in like the color, like metaphoric, right? And yeah, like just very, 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 very optimistic. um and leaning into that is huge, because Sag is all about a sense of humor. It's all about a bigger perspective. Remember, I kept telling you about truth, right? About how your life is you're meant to go to different places, metaphorically and physically, different teachers, different learnings, and all of them are meant to kind of like give you something. Like there might be something from this reading that I tell you that hits you in 5 years, you know? Like it literally, you just never know with these things. Or maybe I say something that's been said to you by someone else and it kind of just like rings a bell, right? Never know. So 12th house Saturn, you just have to have a sense of humor. You just have to have that courage, just like and not be like Capricorn sometimes can be so hard on themselves, Capricorn Sun. But I think like the best thing for Capricorn Sun, you have in the second house, that's very, very good for like money, and eighth house. Also, like your moon is at 26 Cancer, and like the end of Cancer is known for being very, very good with like real estate. I don't know if that's something that you're. God damn it! My thing died again. That's weird. I have to use a hotspot at my own home, and somehow it just died twice, even though it's been on. Anyways, yeah, but that's like known as like the billionaire, to like not degree 29 Cancer, but like the end of Cancer is known for like being very good for money. But I think some astrologers are just fucking stupid as fuck, and they just don't understand that like the biggest things for money are the fixed stars. But it's definitely like a lot of billionaires have that. And as you know, Capricorn is very good for business too. Now your sun is combust, so let me see. Do you have any air? I don't think so. No. So that's one thing. One thing. So I like doing this. So I like to kind of give well, I started it last reading, but I think it's going to be like a new thing I do for every reading. It's just like I like to give tips based on the chart. So, for you, the first tip is also one other thing before that. There's a few aspects I didn't speak about. One is your moon is opposite your Mercury too, because your Mercury is conjunct your sun, which I was about to get into that. But moon opposite Mercury creates kind of issues with decision making and kind of like not sure whether you should follow your gut, um, your thoughts or your heart, right? Your head or your heart, I mean, your thoughts or your emotions. So there can be like some self-doubt that can enter, and there needs to be a balance between the two, basically, right? So, and then the fact that Mercury is conjunct the sun but combusts the sun, meaning that Mercury is so close to the sun, but it's not in that Kazemi zone, which is 0.17. That's like, so people can still be very smart, especially Capricorn. It's like, no, it's very savvy, but the thing to like look out for, so it's not really anything like about IQ or anything like that. Like, no, like it's just simply that when you lack air in your chart and you lack this is like what I'm doing. Like when I'm off camera, I'm like walking here, throwing crystals around. But yeah. So when you lack air in your chart, and you have that combust, you can have a tendency to be a little bit dogmatic and maybe have a little bit of difficulty seeing someone else's perspective. So, you are a Libra South Node. So when you're a South Node in Libra, it can be said that I would not be surprised if that statement I just made, you were thinking like, okay, but that doesn't really apply to me. I totally am really good at that. And if that is the case, that's because your South Node is in Libra, and that's kind of like what you've passed. That's what the energy that you've completely passed, right? Been there, done that. And Libra is about balancing both sides out. But it's just something to look at. Also, Sun and Mercury just makes someone a good communicator in general. And they like, I'm that, by the way. I have the Kazemi. I'm not gonna get into what that is, but um yeah, I said it. It's when they're so close that they're 0.17 together or less. So it's a little different, but yeah. So basically, like, Sun conjunct Mercury is like just really like enjoying like stimulating yourself intellectually. Always looking like how to communicate your ideas and learn. So sometimes there needs to like be this like give and take when it comes to communicating and listening, right? Um, but you're definitely someone with all your Sag energy that's always looking for new avenues through which to learn, That's really, really nice. Um, you might even have like a commitment to like higher education. And there's another aspect of your chart where the idea of finding your voice is very massive, right? The idea of finding, this is more from the positive perspective, but I like to kind of like give downloads on both. So yeah, like finding your voice, your authentic voice in this lifetime is super important. Because your North Node would be in the third in that system. And yeah, like it goes back to that authentic self-expression thing I was talking about, where you find, what's authentic to you, and just being able to kind of like fearlessly just like let out your individualistic, unique self, right? And not be afraid of any judgment, anything like that. Because with your Chiron in Gemini, so people that have that, I have so many clients that have that. Why would that be the case? Out of all 12 signs, I get a ton of Gemini, a lot of Taurus, some Cancer. I never get Aries. Yeah. Well, yeah, it's interesting. I didn't even get, yeah, I don't know. Not gonna think about every Chiron I get, but yeah, I get a lot of that Chiron and Gemini. Obviously, it's also like from that generation, that those few years, but still, it revolves. It relates to a fear of self-expression and a doubting of one's thought processes. So some people, when they had that, and yet with like some of the other energy in this chart, there could have been early on like a lack of confidence, like people maybe doubting you because you're meant to take like a different road in life than your parents. You're really meant to blaze your own path. Um, so yeah, it can create someone who um may not trust their own thought processes, and maybe they were ahead of their time growing up, and because of that, and because they maybe had like ideas that were like a little bit different than the norm, maybe more advanced, right? A lot of times that's what it is. They were made to feel that they were like you know weird or something. So yeah, sometimes there's like a communication problem as a child, and just like a difficult time in early schooling. Sometimes it's around the family and the siblings even, right? And there's just like feeling like unintelligent, and then kind of a big goal is to kind of grow into that. And then your part of fortune is in the seventh house, you know, with the descendant in Gemini. And I think, like, speaking of like your relationship stuff, um, I think overall, like the perfect person for you would be able to. Well, I don't like. I would never. First of all, whenever I give this part, I always have to say that any two signs, any two charts can work. Love, soul love is not seen through the chart. I've had clients who, like, 'cause I do compatibility readings too. I've had clients who are like the most like fuck, like you wouldn't believe, like they're just so fucked, and their compatibility is horrible. I'm like doing the read, I'm like scared, and then I talk to them in the follow up, and I'm just so pleasantly surprised. Like, wow, like you guys, like they overcame so much. So I just need to throw that in there. But yeah, I think a Cancer moon definitely needs to feel like they would do better with someone who, honestly, like Capricorn Cancer combo, I think, like, being that your Venus is in Sag, you need someone who you feel like you can expand with. So, like, I'll give you an example. Like, my girlfriend, I'm living in Romania. My girlfriend's obviously Romanian, and her Venus is in Sag. She's dating me, right? I'm a Sag moon, and I'm Venus in Aquarius, so it's similar. And just by dating someone from a different country, even though, like, I've always said that I feel like I'm Romanian, um, it just brings you something. It just works. I just don't see that many Venus Sagittarius people who date people from their home country. Like, when I lived, I mean, I'm French American, but I grew up in the US. That's why my accent is American, even though if I'm like in France for like literally after 2 weeks or 3 weeks in France, you can't tell me separate from like like I sound like everyone else. It's like the accent becomes that thick, it's that fast. Part of me kind of like, I love France. I might go like in a month. or a month and a half, 2 months. My dad lives in the sud de la France, sur la plage. We'll see. I'll probably go. It's been a minute since I've had some beach time. Miss it so much. So, yeah, like I think Venus and Sag, like they really like love growing culturally through their relationships. They love to just throw themselves in different cultures in general, you know? So they'll be attracted to people from different cultures and people who can like, you know, who at least they don't have to have the same worldview as them, but they can at least really like have a philosophical dialogue with, you know? Um, Another thing about your karma is like that I didn't really talk about is like the need to develop self-discipline. Um, that's huge too. I didn't really talk about that part. And yeah, it's really about like another word I didn't use is self-empowerment, right? I mentioned assertiveness, action, independence. But like another thing about Libra South Node is that there can be a tendency to be indecisive, right? And you're always considering the needs of other people. And then because of that, that balance, but anxiety comes and you don't make that move based on yourself. You follow someone else. So finding your own identity, right? Second house sun, that's where a lot of your energy is based on finding your own values, you know, and hopefully the values reflect your Jupiter, right? Which is Pisces, which is very much about compassion, and also your seventh house Chiron can make someone a very good healer, right? Like where like someone that works with clients in some respects. So that's important. But yeah, just like the Gemini energy there, you have to watch out for a potential of like wanting to jump ship too fast and wanting to give up too fast on relationships, thinking the grass is greener. Um, but I think like the emotional, like on the emotional level, it's important to have someone that you feel very heard from. You know, that you feel like they understand you. You feel like you can like because it's like it's not about just being like because your Juno is in Capricorn, so there's like a real mix of like wanting something really really secure, right? Cancer, Capricorn, that's all about security, not financial, like just overall security, right? Like you don't want someone who you want someone you can really 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 rely on, you know? That's like the goal. Um, but then that someone has to have some fire and some zest to them. They can't just be like a depressing person, you know? So, and then yeah, the Juno in Capricorn, that's like the ideal mate is someone who you really respect. Maybe even someone older. I don't know. And it's not necessarily just older in age, just like soul age, you know, someone who's just very mature and who can like really, really, maybe it's like someone who's spiritual, you know, or someone who just like has their shit together, right? Um, and you know who's really really willing to commit and has the facilities to do that. So 1 second. So let's see. Mhm. Hold on. Um so yeah, like I think in that level, and then also we have to consider, you know, like the Neptune the second, you know, that's 1 sec. Hey, all right. So um so Neptune the second is interesting because it can kind of cloud everything with finances can be a little bit. So it kind of I was talking about the second house, sun, the importance to have um values. Like it's almost like a like a constitution for yourself, right? So with Neptune there, um sometimes like, and this goes with the Mars square Neptune, right? The assessment of oneself can be unrealistic. Um, there can be like and also there can be like a lack of clarity of one's value, and there's a need to find a link between monetary values and spiritual values, right? Because like Capricorn can go too far into too far into the material. So like with your Pluto, which is like the jumping into the sea of Neptune, is important. But I do this thing with my cat Esme whenever she comes up. She's the best cat astrologer in the world. She actually has the most followers of any cat astrologer that I know. Esme, look at something in the chart and tell me if it's important. I think that was the south. Was that the south node? Do it again. Oh yeah, you're staring right. Good job, Esme. You're staring just straight bullets at your south node. So I've already gone over that pretty well, Esme. Maybe you're looking at the midheaven, which I haven't. I guess you probably weren't listening to everything. Her Instagram is Esme Özme cat astrology. Anyways, so yeah, like the more that you develop that spiritual relationship with yourself, the more clear things are, and the better it is for your money. But like eighth house, like in second house, you're studying your moon. Like I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if you were really, really good in that department. That's just me, because eighth house, could be related to inheritance. A lot of times when I see full moons, I'm like, people have money karma, right? And the second, eighth house are about money, but that's not what they're not just about that. That's just a very external, on an esoteric level, on an external level, it's about the balance between external resources and internal resources, and finding the balance between the two. Okay. Esme likes this. Esme, relax your back. Relax your back. Good. Relax your back. Okay, now just relax, Esme. Yeah, stretch. Okay, stay. Relax now. Relax in that position. No? You didn't like that? I wish my cats could do that to me. Oh my God. All right. So, I like the Mercury in Capricorn though on its own. The second house, it's good for. That's kind of like a, really good for like having very ingenious money making schemes, very ingenious kind of like business ideas. One can like earn money through distributing information, and really they tend to value like quick thinking and intelligence in people, in themselves and in people. And then Mercury and Capricorn is like a very wise and careful thinker. They'll take their time to arrive at conclusions. They'll analyze. They'll place a lot of importance on credibility and authority when it comes to learning. Um, which is interesting, right? Because as a Sag, you're really meant to like really move through lots of variations of truth. So I think like it'd be interesting, right? Because in my book, I talk about the importance of, I don't even know where it is. That's right here. There's one chapter that's called the importance of intellectual open-mindedness. I think I shorten the names. I still haven't read my own book fully, to be honest with you. Intellectual curiosity is what I call it here, but I think it's like the importance of intellectual curiosity and open-mindedness. So yeah, like I think that like with the Sag, you would just sift through different teachings. And then the Capricorn would just find what's most important. But yeah, like with all the third house energy that would exist in class this, you just be I told you like another big thing for you is finding your own voice and getting past any kind of fear of sharing what's inside and just letting it out. All right. That's interesting. So the midheaven is the square it's the midpoint of the sun and the moon. So the way that you bring all this together is through your career, through your dharma, excuse me. So in your Sagittarius, like your quest, you're always looking at it's the gypsy that starts out it's the start out as the gypsy, the person that's going around place to place, thing to thing. Then they become the teacher, then they become the philosopher. Or the philosopher, then I forget which one's second and third. But the point is, you get it, right? There's a sequential order to that. So, your midheaven, and it's. Let's pop up the stars right now. Yeah, it's like really close to that point. So yeah, I mean, like a Libra midheaven is definitely, you know, it's 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 it it's it makes Venus rule the midheaven. So, also Venus in the 12th house, um, it can make like love and relationships very, very karmic too. And there can be a potential for like getting lost and just yeah, just like there can be like relationships that you because with your Chiron in the seventh where you might feel like yeah, like you can get lost in relationships. Um, but like really like there's like some karma that you need to like play out in that in different relationships in your life. Like some relationships, the whole thing will be to balance out some karma from the past lives. Not all of them, I mean, like relationships are just very fated for you. Also, I think that you can get a lot out of astrology. Anything esoteric can be like very, very good for you and really kind of open up the doorway to higher awareness per se. So you have some wealth star on your descendants, Capella and um is that Beetlejuice? Yeah. So that's good for money. It could come to you like more in like the middle part of your life. Okay. You have to watch out. Like if you're like in business, you have to like really be careful and choose your business partners wisely. Take your time with that. Oh my God, you have a more conjunct Mars. So that is so beautiful because like Mars in Aries, like I told you, it's like you need to have like a creative a physical outlet. Like you need to like lift weights or fight or something, right? You need to get that sweat out. Because in Aries Mars, it's just like such a like people who have Aries Mars and like they feel like Aries is one of their signs for sure. But to have it conjunct Amor, there's this element like Amor is related to um, you know, it basically makes you driven and connects you with universal love. Just the energy of love, right? I'm not saying love for like you have like this beautiful unconditional love that you carry. That's what Moore's all about. So Mars conjunct it, Mars is just like that assertiveness energy towards that. So it's really, really nice. Also there's like a lot of like just very passionate romantic energy. Um, yeah, that's like very sexual, like Eros conjunct Jupiter. It can sometimes play out in a way where you gotta you gotta chill, take things slow in that area too, for sure. Also, like child conjunct Jupiter is nice. It just makes you like very childish in a good way, like being able to like be very in touch with your inner child, which another thing about the North Node in the fifth house could be meant to really connect with the inner child, because that full moon in Capricorn Cancer, that can be an energy that's very serious. So the Sagittarius part with the Uranus on the ascendant, and then this Aries energy is really meant to be lively. Yeah, so there's even more. And then, oh wow, so you have White Moon Selena on your sun. So that is like all about like spiritual protection. That's how I see it. And just like it brings like the higher manifestation. So it's like a very, very good point um to have on your sun. And yeah, the Uranus like ascendant just makes you like one of a kind. And sometimes like you're not able to see just how um like you're not able to really always realize like how odd not odd like unique you appear to other people, you are to other people, right? It just makes like life very busy. There's so much stuff going on a lot of times, right? And a big need to like express that individuality. And another word I didn't remember is rebellious, very rebellious. If anyone tries to like stifle your independence, fuck no. So yeah, like just like meeting life in your own, like you have your own way of kind of going through life. That's really, really important. And it's very not, you know, not like based on like societal standards or anything like that. Anyways, then Venus is like kind of close to Antares, kind of like, yeah. Well, I guess it's like probably just out of orb. But it's the truth seeker. Um, but what would Venus do with Aries? I don't know. Destruction of class division, breaking down of emotional armor, penetrating the heart through intense emotional turmoil, guarded in social situation. Okay. But it's not like smack on there. So yeah, I guess tips, I kind of laid everything out. Um, yeah, just developing that spiritual relationship with yourself, not being so hard on yourself. Um, always exploring, but not like always thinking the grass is green on the other side, especially in love. The more that you take risks and allow spaciousness into your life by letting go of people and things that no longer serve you, and move in a very assertive, determined way into your real creative essence, right? And that can mean whatever it needs to mean to you, right? The better it is for you. um Feel your emotions, journal, do whatever you need to do in that respect, right? Whether it's poetry, whatever, who gives a fuck? That is ultimately very, very important. And there's just so much resolution in the sign Aries. So Aries is ultimately about um it's about assertiveness and independence, and just yeah, just like it's really self-love at the end of the day. It's like I'm not gonna take someone else's shit. Like I'm gonna do me. there's one other T-square I didn't see, and it's Jupiter, Chiron, Saturn. So yeah, it shoots out in Virgo. I don't know though. That's like 3 outers. I prefer to have like an inner for T-square. But I think that could relate to like anything like that's like it's like energy that could like affect you in relationships that's related to like stuff that's deep inside yourself. Um, and the resolution point being in 10th house Virgo is that when you're able to feel very, very like of service in your career, in your dharma, that's when you're really at your best. So yeah, that is everything. Let me go take a look real quick, real quick, real quick. Okay, so you do you wait, whatever. Right? Why did I write current follow-ups? I think I just did a typo. Yeah, I meant to say reading follow. I don't know what I was typing. But yeah, so let me know if you want to add the current. So instead of just having the 1 hour follow-up, which you already have, usually it's like 380 or something like that. I'd be happy to do it for 250 for you. So we would just, it's not a long wait like this was. It's like literally we just look at my schedule for the next available time. Probably like a few weeks, maybe less even. Um, just, some for example, I just booked someone today because someone canceled for next Monday. I was able to get them in. So yeah, let me know. Take your time with the reading, and whenever you want to do the follow up, we can do that. And yeah, um, and you'll have to remind me of the price I gave you for the current astrology. So I usually don't give that. Well, I have been, but I usually been giving or lately been giving like a higher one. So, anyways, thank you so much. Merci beaucoup, and I'll talk to you later. Ciao.